today's video, I'm going to show you a quick and easy way how you can generate 3D AR models and textures entirely for free on your own PC. With StableProjectorz, this is easier than ever, without having to go through a complicated installation to install, for example, Hunyuan 3D or Trellis. In addition to that, I will also show you how you can generate textures with Stable Diffusion for your 3D models, and also how you can retexture existing 3D models with StableProjectorz. By the end of this video, you will have a clear understanding how you can use StableProjectorz to generate 3D models from scratch and create amazing textures for them. Having said that, let's dive right into it. Hey guys, new video, and this time it's about StableProjectorz. And we are starting this time also on their homepage, because this tool, which we are using now, is an independent kind of software that we need to install on our PC to then let it run to create those 3D models then and to texture them. But this has a huge advantage because it's all locally running onto your PC and you don't need any additional website or something. And it will be all stored onto your local PC and you can then generate all the textures from there. So to actually install the tool, only thing we need to do is go here to StableProjectorz.com. You will find, as always in my videos, all links down below in the video description. If you have any questions, of course, always feel free to reach out to me in the comments. So as you can see here, it's saying already StableProjectorz, and we also have a download installer over here. So we can basically click on this one to install it, and then it will download also the exfile for it. When you want to run StableProjectorz on your PC, what you need to do is that you have at least a GT 1080 or later graphic cards on it, and you need the NVIDIA GPU for it. AMD GPU is also supported, but for this one it's highly recommended to check out their AMD GPU on their Discord page. So once it's downloaded, what you simply need to do is just execute it, and then the installer will run. And then once it's done, then you will find in the folder a StableProjectorz.exe, and then it will launch already StableProjectorz. And what we can already see once we open it the first time is that StableProjectorz is opening a black command window, which is this one over here, which is very important that you leave it open the entire time you're using StableProjectorz, because with this window you can also track the progress once we generate textures or 3D models, for example. And then, as you can see, we are here the first time on the interface from StableProjectorz. And the first thing I'm really excited to show you about is the 3D generation mode in StableProjectorz. And how we can do that actually is that we can go over here to this roundish shape that we have over here, and then you already see we have three tabs. We have the 3D tab, the Stable Diffusion tab, SD, and UV to view our UVs. And we want to go first to the 3D tab, because here we want to generate then the textures later. And as you can see, at the moment it's saying here no 3D generator is connected yet. And to connect our 3D generator, what we need to do is navigate to the catalog that we see over here. And once we click on it, we can see that we have here available 3D generators catalog. And as you can see, we have here Trellis and Hunyuan 3D 2.0. Both are free to use, of course, with their own licenses. So just make sure that you research them properly before you use them commercially or something. And then it will execute all steps for you. And you don't need anything to do with the installation. The same for Hunyuan 3D. I did that here already. So what you need to do is download, and then another terminal will open for you with all the installation steps. And really make sure to not close it or something, because it will download all models for you and put them in the right folder. And it's very important that you not close it so that it doesn't stop at some point, but you don't need to copy anything over manually or something. It will do the whole thing for you. And once it's then installed, it will give you a message, and you might have to restart StableProjectorz. So once you have done that, it will then give you here an inspect folder. As you can see here, it will give you here a message, and then you can click on it. And then it will lead you basically to the folder where we installed Hunyuan 3D, because this is the model I installed in my case. And what we can do then is, as you can see here, we have run Projectorz faster and we have run browser, but we would like to use the Projectorz one over here. You can also, of course, always go here to the how to use instructions and also read them through. Here it's also explained by default what you can use and which one is recommended. to your corresponding GPU. And what we can do then, for example, is that we go here to this folder, and then as you can see here are all the Hunyuan 3D models that are currently available, which is pretty cool, I think. Of course, not Hunyuan 3D 2.5, unfortunately, because the weights are not released yet to the public for open source. So this will be the 2.0 models, which is still great and also pointed out here. So what we can do then is that we go over here and then launch one of them. We can either launch the multi-view one, which is also recommended here, or we take the single view one. There's also the Turbo Mini and the Turbo Single View. For this tutorial we will use the Turbo Single View, but you can check out any of those and see what works best for you. So once you double click this, because this is a .bat file, it will then execute and it will then start a separate 3D server. And as you can see here, it's starting in the server. You just have to wait a bit until it will start the server. This can take up to 2 to 3 minutes. And once it's there, we can then start generating our 3D models. Okay, great. And once the server is up, as you can see, it's also saying here server is active and listening on the IP then. And then we can close the catalog again. And then as you can see, the catalog will be looking a bit different. Also always make sure that you're still in the 3D category over here, because now we can then plug in our images. So as you can see, one is the single view and many would be then the multi-view. It's also saying here the order for it, but we will use the single view for this one since we also just launched a single view server. So what we can do then is simply click on here, and then what we can do is plugging then in our image. And for this one, we will use the image of a tiny cute robot that I prompted in Midjourney. And as you can see, we have now the image loaded in. What we still need to do then is first that we have here the guidance scale, so we can change this to a value. So a higher guidance scale is more correlating to the image, what it sees, and a lower one is also hallucinating kind of more what it could look like. We have think steps, but this one we can leave a default. Then we have the octave resolution, which I will increase a bit more because this is always giving us better results. And the number of chunks we can also leave to this value kind of. And then what we can do is what is pretty important, that you choose here the apply texture one, and the seed we can also change to -1 maybe. And then it will start to generate the 3D model. And then actually to check if it's working, you can also always track the progress on the command shell that you have over here. And then you can see to which state it is right now and when it will be finished. And here on this window, you always see what state the texture generation and the model generation. And once it's done, it will then tell you over here. And once it's done, as you can see, it generated the model successfully. You can navigate around in the viewport kind of when you're pressing hold and then the left mouse button, and then you can rotate the model as much as you want. We can also disable the wireframe for now. And as you can see, we have then our first rough 3D model, and as you can see, it read the shape quite nicely and also the texture, and we have now our little robot with, of course, the known limitations that we have from 3D AR models at the moment. And what we can now do is also refine the texture, of course, of our 3D model. So what we can do is that we go from the 3D one to Stable Diffusion, and as you can see, we still have our 3D model over here. I installed here already a different one, but we can go to the base one, which is the Realistic Vision version 51 that you will have by default, and also you might have the standard one here, which I will search up in a second, which is in this case the DPM++2M. And what we can do then is first, if we want to generate a texture with SDXL, the first step we always need to do is enter prompt over here. And we can do this by then prompting something, and I prepared something for this already. A cute little robot, white and yellow patterns, astronaut suit, he has subtle scratches, and high detail, photoreal, sci-fi, and the 3D model. Make sure that you don't write too much stuff in here or something that is not corresponding to your main prompt, because otherwise it could get confused and then you don't get nice results. What we can also do is then, of course, on the con side, here you will put in everything that you don't want to see in the final image. So something like smear, blur, contrast, low quality, and saturated colors. What we can also do then is that we're changing here the B count. So this is giving us then different variations so that we not only can choose from one image, but from multiple ones that is generated for us. And we can go, for example, here B count 4, that it's giving us 4 different variations, and we can keep it for now at the 512 resolution, which is kind of the resolution we need. And for now we will keep it at around 24 to 25 steps, because this is then guaranteeing us that we have a kind of fast generation time for this. And what we could do now as a first rough projection is that we go here to generate art, and then we can also see in our window, which open at the beginning, that it will then start now to load in the model that we have over here and then generate a first texture for us. Okay, great. And this gave us a first rough projection, and I think this is also pretty cool to see. So as you can see, when we go here to the art tab over here, so from control to art, what we can see that we have now different variations of the model. And the cool thing is now that we have here projection mask, and we can kind of mix it now with the old model that we had. So for example, we can then say, for example, when we want our old earphones back, we can simply go here to eraser and then paint on the tool with left mouse button to bring those details back with the paint mode that we had before. So here it's already like this, and then we could also change, for example, here the edge, that it's not that harsh. And as you can also see, it only projected now on the front because we just look at the front of our robot. On the back we still have our old texture, and we can change that, for example, when we want to project on multiple angles for our 3D model. And to do that is that we first go here to this camera button that we have over here, and then we're changing the amount of models that we would like to see. And I would like to project from the front side, the side view, it's like the right side, the back side, and the left side for our first try. And what we can do then is that we first go here and create kind of 4 different perspectives for this one. We can also go to sort, and then we will automatically align them in the space. And then with the mouse wheel, we can just hover over this one and then make it a bit smaller. And with middle mouse button, we can position it then. And then once I press the middle mouse button, as you can see, we have then also the numbers over here. Of course, I don't want to all of them point to the back, so I would change this one to the side view, this one to the back view, and this one to the right view in this case, like this. And what we can do then as well as one additional thing is using control nets over here, because those ones will give additional detail. So before we generate all of those perspectives over here, we can then activate here the control net. So this one is enabled by default, which is the depth control net. So it will read out the shape of the depth information and take this one to then project the texture onto the mesh. As a second controller, we simply need to click on it and then it will turn green. And what we can then also do is not just reading the depth information, but also by hitting right click and then go to normal, it will then take the normal information or read the normal information from the mesh and then use this one as well for more detailed texturing kind of. So this should give us already even better results. And then what we can do is again go here to generate art. And then we will see here on the art tab that we have now 4 different ones, but now with the difference that it will generate for all angles kind of a texture. And then it's giving us here more variations that we can choose from. Of course, what we can also do here is increase the step size now a bit to get even better results, and changing here the resolution. Okay, great. And I generated those, and I kind of like this one here, for example. And what we can do then, for example, is that I go here to the seed phrase that we have over here. And then as you can see, the seed is changing over here, and this is then ensuring that this look is preserved kind of, and that we don't get then different looks from it later on. And what we can do then when we have this one generated kind of is that we go here to blend cams, and then it will merge those perspectives together in all directions. And once we're on here, as you can see, we have now merged them together kind of in the views. As you can see, we have here 1, 2, 3, and 4. And what we can do then is that we first search the sites. For example, on the right view, this was number 2. So what we can do then is go to projection mask and then, for example, to the paint icon over here, and then we will add additional stuff that we had from the new projection. But of course, we can also bring additional stuff back from the old one by choosing the eraser. You can also switch them pretty fast by pressing X, as you can see, and then we can erase like stuff that we, for example, don't want on the seams here. If you want to change a side, as you can see already, as you can see for this one, it's working quite well to do this for the right side right now by choosing 2. But what you can see, for example, when I go to this side here and then we'll try to erase something, you see this is obviously that this is not working, and this is because we need to change the number over here, because as we saw before, each projection had its own perspective and its own number, so we need to change the number here, and then we need to find the correct one. In this case it's 4, and then what we can do is then paint in the old details again. I will show you now also with our next model a very powerful way how you can use the texturing mode and really get rid of all seams and also add additional close-up detail, which I think is very powerful. For our next example, I prompted here something in Hunyuan 3D 2.5 I used for this example, because Hunyuan 3.5 is really good at creating like hard surface objects like a house, for example. By the way, if you want to check out how you can do that, I will also link you a video right here that you can check out where I explained it in detail how you can generate models with Hunyuan 3D 2.5. Anyways, once you have that, I then went ahead and downloaded it here, and then I can now show you how you can import external 3D objects kind of. And then as you can see already, it's saying here import 3D, and I can go here import keep icons to also keep import the texture, import the 3D model into StableProjectorz, and we can then use it right away. Alright, great, and now it was imported and looking great, I think. And what we can do then is now that we generate a new prompt, so we go over here, that we have an empty text field again, and what we can do now is that I insert now a new prompt, and for this one I can write something like 3D model of a fantasy house, and maybe let's give it a broad color palette, and we can say that it should be stylized in this case, and cute and cozy aesthetic, maybe just to give the AI something that it can work with, you know, that we get a nice kind of colors in this house. And what we can do then is that we also say negative. We can say here again smear, blur, contrast, low quality and saturated colors. Then we can again check our control net, and as you can see it's still loaded in here nicely. This is good. And what we can do then is now again that we go to our 4 perspectives for this one. So I will quickly position them, and now we will go back to generate art, and then we can go back to our control tab over here, or art tab, and then now we can check out what the AI is giving us again. Okay, and the AI gave us now 4 different variations. I think they are at the moment quite dark, so I would like to iterate a bit more. Let me maybe have some white and warm colors maybe, so that it's not too dark kind of. And now let's generate again. And I think something like this could work already way better. And as you can see, it's quite low res, let's say it like this right now, like low quality, but we can change this in a second. So first I want to check out which look could be cool. I think this one looks pretty cool. So what I can do now is that I'm saving also the seed again, like when I click on here, that we get the new seed. And now what I can do is generate it with more steps. So I can increase here now the step size to something like 110 maybe. I will go here to B count, let's say maybe 2 this time, And I can also change here the width to maybe 768, should be fine for now. And we can also change the CFG scale, but this one is fine, I think. And now we can regenerate, and then it should give us a much better result in terms of resolution a bit and details. Okay, great. And as you can see, I'd finished now the texture, and I think this is already giving us a much nicer result in terms of the quality. So we have two options now to choose from, and I think this one is working pretty well. So what we can do now is, once we have that, is go here to blend cams to then combine it again in one mesh. And what we can do now, for example, we see that the store here doesn't have the best resolution yet. So what we can do is we can go here to color, and then we can kind of paint a mask for us and then reproject just this detail in a close-up. So what we can do now is that I first paint here kind of the wooden frame that we have. So I will simply quickly select this one. And what I can do now is simply hitting here again, maybe let's decrease the step size a bit. And then what I can do now is generate art again. And as you can see, we have now a new texture only for this part, which I think is pretty cool. Of course, it's not the best quality here, but we could also go, for example, to delete the last part. But as you can see, there's already quite a difference. And then we could generate again for the door part itself. Maybe by then again going to the color part, as you can see here. And then we can maybe say that we would like to have a bit more steps only for this one. And maybe we can also say, why not a red wooden door? Okay, great. And this gave us then kind of a new style of door. And another cool way with the color brush is actually that we can also get rid of some artifacts that existed here. So for example, we can also go over here. And first of all, we need to delete our old color selection. So what we can do is go here and delete this one. What we can do then is that we go over here and then paint in parts that we kind of want to adjust. So we can go like this, maybe also here some parts to have them regenerated. So here, and this way you can really build a texture with more control for your 3D models, which I think is cool. So let's go like this, maybe decrease the step size again. And then what we can do is go here to 1024 and then regenerate those parts. And then we can check out what it's giving us in a second. And then as you can see, it's giving us here also new texture generation and detail that we could use, for example. And you can do this basically with all the parts where you would like to refine the texture. And I think this is a pretty cool way to actually get some new texture details for your 3D models. Once you're happy then with your texture, what you could also do is, for example, export it. So what you can do is go here on the top and then export 3D geometry, or you can also go here, export texture, and then you can load it, for example, into Blender, which I think is quite cool. And then one more quick thing I wanted to show you is how you can take existing 3D models that you modeled yourself or found on TurboSquid maybe, or Sketchfab. This great model here that was modeled by Amvel, I think is his name, and huge shout out to him to creating such an amazing 3D motorbike model. And I downloaded it then over here. And this one I wanted to quickly just show as a test how you could retexture it then with StableProjectorz. So once it's downloaded, the first thing we need to do is go to Blender, and what we need to do is import it. And in this case, I downloaded this as an GLB file, and then I will simply just select it here and download it. And as you can see, this is existing right now of multiple files. For StableProjectorz, it's unfortunately not possible to texture it with a UDOM workflow. So what I will do is go first to the UV editing mode over here. And as you can see, we have all those UV tiles spread apart kind of on different tiles. So first thing I'm going to do is selecting the whole model over here. And what I will do then is hitting Ctrl and J in Blender to merge them together. And what I will do then is going to the object, pressing then Alt P and clear the parent so we don't have it anymore in our top group over here, so that it's not constrained or something. Then I simply just need to search it, and it's over here because it's not scaled anymore or something. Then I will just rotate it, hit 90, and to have it 90 degrees and also shift it a bit, it's a bit more frontal. Then we can scale it down again to its original size, which is kind of this one. And a very important part is now that we're hitting here and go to edit mode with tab. Otherwise, you can also go simply over here and click edit mode. What I can do then is selecting all UVs, and then what I want to do is to not have them overlap on one UV tile. What I can do is go here to UV and then go to pack islands, and then I can go here to pack. And what I will do then is arrange all those ones to one UDIM tile like this. So that when it looks like this, then it's good, and make sure that nothing is overlapping, because it's very important when you choose an existing 3D model that you have it yourself, that you give it existing UVs, because if it doesn't have UVs, then it won't work. And what we can do then once we have that is that we can then go to File, Export, and then choose here GLB, for example. And then we can now save it in our folder, and then I can call it something like motorbike UVs, something like this maybe. Then I can export it. And one more thing which is important before you export is that you actually go here to material and then delete all the existing materials, so that it only has one material, because otherwise StableProjectorz will get confused with it. And now it's loaded, and now we can do a quick test by typing in motorbike, sporty, red and white stripes, black tires, and clear code and stickers. And let's see what it's doing. Maybe changing the C to -1. And now I can quickly generate art to see what it's doing. And I need, of course, to change the control net again to the basic one that we had. And now I can regenerate. And then, as you can see, it's giving us now a new texture. And this is just to quickly show you that it can create also from existing 3D models on the part. What we could also do, of course, is now going to 4 views. So we quickly do that by going here to one side, then the other side, which is 2 in this case, like this. Maybe this one is then the front view, the 3, and this one will be 4 for the top, like this. And then I can generate this one, and then I'm getting again 4 perspectives. Of course, I can here change the resolution, and also, of course, I should definitely increase the steps again to have a bit more variation. Let's go to 3 and then generate art again, and then it should give us a much better result. And then once again, once we merge them together with the blend views, as you can see, we have then a good base result that we could then use and refine with the techniques I showed you before. To now finally export your mesh and bring it into Blender, we can go here to export 3D geometry, and what we can do is then go here to 0.3 maybe, or 0. Let's say maybe export the GLB, and what we can then do is going back into Blender, delete the old one, go then here and go to our layout mode, file, import, and then GLB, and then we can go to the folder where we exported it, so we can import it now, and then zoom in. And then when we go to the texturing mode, and as you can see, it's not there yet, so what we can also do is export the texture. So we will go like this, and then say here, let's call it like this maybe, just in this case, go to save. And what we could then do to apply the texture to Blender is that we go here to the shader editor, and then what we can do is go to the folder which we have over here, and then see the texture StableProjectorz. We can also look at it, and as you can see, all the textures now applied now. And what we could do then is simply plugging in here the color, and as you can see, we have then a kind of new color on it for the projected piece that we did in Stable Diffusion. So yeah, that's basically it. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial about StableProjectorz. Please let me know in case you have any questions. And by the way, in case you haven't yet, please make sure to join my free newsletter FutureFrames, in which I will share with you the latest 3D AR model workflows in ComfyUI. So make sure to check that out. And as otherwise, always make sure to subscribe to the channel and to support me and like the video, and actually see you on the next one.